Welcome. I'm Adam Miller, a consultant with the Art of Applying and a graduate of the University of Virginia's Darden School of Business. Today we've got a question from our Q&A vault about whether or not you should apply for early decision, round 1, round 2, or even round 3 at business school. So let's take a look at the questions and how our consultants responded to this client. The person writes in and says, "Hello, a couple questions regarding financial sponsorships at Wharton and CBS. CBS is Columbia Business School. On Wharton, do you know if it makes a difference between applying round 1 and round 2 in order to access the school's sponsorship opportunities? With regards to CBS, do you know if it makes a difference to apply early decision versus regular decision in terms of accessing sponsorship?" And it's also interesting to note when this person was writing in their questions. Looks like it was late August, early September. So that makes me think that they are right up against some of those deadlines in the coming days and weeks for early decision and round 1. And maybe they're starting to think about whether or not they should keep working on their applications and finishing everything round 2. So the end of their question is also, what is your experience with regards to early versus regular applications to CBS? Do we have an idea of the acceptance rate by round? I have found different sources to be quite contradictory. Thank you in advance. Our founder and CEO, Kanisha, answers with a fantastic response to all of these questions. So let's get to it. She says, "Hey, your chance to receive financial aid does not decrease between round 1 and round 2 at Wharton or CBS. This is true at all schools. I think in general, this is just the universally accepted admissions consultant answer, which is you should apply in round 1 if you are ready to apply in round 1, and you should wait until round 2 if you need the extra time. Don't worry about a different acceptance rate between those 2 rounds. More people apply in round 2 because for whatever reason, more people make those decisions and finishing up those standardized tests a little bit later on in the year. And as a result, you have more people you're competing against, but there are more spots available because the schools expect more people to apply. So just pick whichever one of those 2 is better for you. In terms of round 3, usually you want to avoid round 3. Almost all the top schools have much lower acceptance rates later on, partly because of selection bias probably, right? The top applicants have their act together and end up applying earlier in round 1 or round 2. So maybe it's partly a self-fulfilling prophecy that the people who do end up waiting until the spring to apply don't have as strong of profiles. But also I think that the schools do just fill spots as they have people to fill them with. And so they're not going to wait around for a bunch more people to apply later on in the year. So let's keep going through her response. She says, Columbia may be more likely to give you more merit aid actually if you wait and apply regular decision instead of early decision. It's a little bit counterintuitive there, but that's because early decision is binding. And Columbia does not need to use money to convince you to come there because you've already committed by applying early decision. So it's an interesting thing to take into consideration. So if funding is a concern to you and could persuade you to attend one school versus the other, you should not apply early decision. She goes on to say, I don't have any data on early versus regular application acceptance rates for Columbia, but my guess is that the acceptance rate for early decision would be higher than the acceptance rate for regular decision. So let's think about this again. CBS has this early decision period where you can apply and know sooner in the fall, as opposed to waiting until December, that you've been accepted into the school. If you do the early decision, you're showing them that you really want to go there. And they have all these spots, all of them are still available. They have a slightly higher chance of admitting you. At least that's what it looks like. On the other hand, they have a slightly lower chance of giving you money. So that's a really interesting insight. She goes on to say, I'm happy to weigh in on your sources if you want to link them below on where you're getting the rates for things. I can tell you which ones I would trust and which ones I would take more with a grain of salt. And finally, do not apply to Columbia early decision unless you really intend to attend that school if you are admitted. At the Art of Applying, we do not support double depositing, where you tell a school that you're going to attend, you submit an initial deposit, and then you submit a deposit at a second, better school once you hear from that second school, right? So in this case, you should not do the early decision, get into CBS, put down a deposit, wait a couple months, hear back from Wharton, and decide that now you really want to go to Wharton and you pay a deposit there. We don't like this idea. You're wasting your money, you're spending all this extra energy and time, and now you've got a little bit of a conundrum on your hands where you're going to have to decide between those two, and it can be painful. This can be a painful thing to go through. Our client writes back, "Thank you so much, Kenesha. Very clear. Was planning on going for regular decision at CBS anyway. With regards to the acceptance rates, here's the source that I found that seems most reliable. And according to it, acceptance rates did not vary greatly from early action or early decision being 23% get in and regular being 20%. That's not a big difference. I'm not sure about the accuracy of this data, particularly around my specific profile, as my conversations with other Spanish-speaking peers suggest chances drop significantly. Looking forward to hearing your thoughts." So it sounds like this person has talked to a couple of friends who are also Spanish speaking, or maybe this person's actually from Spain, by the way they phrased it, and that there was some good success from people in previous years who got in early decision, but not as much success from people applying to CBS in round one or the regular decision period. Now that's all anecdotal and it's not specific to you. Obviously, if you have awesome work experience, if you have awesome letters of recommendation, if you've got awesome essays, if you've got awesome extracurricular, whatever all those things are, GPA, GMAT, all of that, if it is above average and outstanding and all of that, you should feel more confident in your abilities to get in when you are ready to submit all of your materials. Don't worry so much about what a couple of friends have said about their specific experiences, especially if they don't have a similar profile to you other than just the country that you're from. Kenesha responds back and says, "I trust MBA Data Guru as just a source of data, but now it's up to you to decide if the Spanish sources you're speaking with are reliable. It's important to not let people make you overly confident or overly conservative if those same people haven't achieved what you are looking to achieve. If they have achieved what you're wanting to achieve, then they have a somewhat similar profile to you, then you may want to take what they are saying more seriously. All right, that's what I was just saying is if you're looking at somebody who worked at the same kind of place and has the same number of experiences and similar undergrad and all of that, and then had success or then did not have success on getting in, then that might be a little bit more indicative of what your actual chances are. But at the end of the day, it sounds like you are about to submit your applications. Submit them, focus on what you can control, do the best possible job on those apps, do the best possible job in any interviews, and then see how it shakes out, right? If you are an awesome candidate, you should feel confident. So that is it for the actual substance of this Q&A vault back and forth. The big takeaway again being that you should apply in the round that you are ready for. You should not apply in one of the early decision rounds if it's not your top choice school. So at the end of the day, work with your consultant if you're working with us on what makes the most sense for you. And I can tell you from my experience, it's great to have all of your options at all of the schools that you applied to laid out at the exact same time. So hopefully you found this video to be informational as well as entertaining. And if you want any help with any of your applications to any awesome graduate schools, please don't hesitate to reach out to us at theartofapplying.com. Thanks.